So how do you update a classic like this, and was it intimidating?
Yeah, intimidating, absolutely. Just because of the great achievement of the original movie and how much people love it and know it, you know. So I think, I keep thinking it wasn't so much updating as it was translating this into a new medium. Because once you're in a live action medium, you have to kind of look at it in a completely different way. You have to believe that, this flesh and blood woman falls in love with this hunk of flesh. I mean, with this hunk of fur. You've got to watch the steps of that happen. You've got to make them kind of more individual, so that a little less archetypal. And so that you understand that this one woman and this one man really are a perfect match for each other. And out of that then raises questions. How did Belle and her father wind up in this village where they don't belong? Why are they there? Why do they stay there? Uh, what did happen to her mother? The same with the beast. What was it that turned him into the kind of man who would be cursed and deserved to be cursed? What was the household staff doing when they were alive? When all that was happening. Where were the villagers and why don't they remember? Little things, big things. As you start to do that, then you kind of feel a little free, because you're creating a kind of more kind of developed version of the story, and in that, then there's a lot of scenes that have to be approached in a different way, characters that have to again become more real, and you wind up with something that's kind of different but the same.
I loved all those backstories that you had.
Oh, good, good.
You've gone all over the world with this film. What makes it such a universal story?
Well, that's a good question. The fact that it started in France, and that's where we started our tour, was really perfect. But it does feel as though I think uh, a, there's something about the magical aspect of the beast, and the mystery of him that is very, very enduring. I think his predicament, as somebody who is caught in this prison of his appearance, and the prison is of his own making, and who doesn't believe that he's worthy of love. Certainly, in this form, he's disgusted by himself. To watch him slowly, through under the influence of a kind of pure soul, start to accept himself, and then open himself up to the possibility of love, and then um, uh, act in a noble way because of that love. That's a great journey, and I think that there are certain figures like that, monster figures. The Phantom of the Opera is another one in a way, but they speak to something in all of us, I think.
Yeah. Emma Watson is such a role model for women and young girls. How did she make Belle her own?
The amazing thing about Belle is that in 1991 she was such a groundbreaking, Disney heroine, in the fact that she liked books more than boys, and she was, more master of her fate than other Disney women had been. Providing a role model. And what's interesting about Emma is that she talks about wearing out the VHS tape of the movie when she was a kid, when she was young, and that this maybe kind of influenced who she is, and the idea that 25 years later then she would be providing that same influence to another generation of girls is just really exciting. But the thing is, it's evolved over 25 years. Women have moved forward over 25 years. So how do you make something that's equally kind of forward thinking? Well, one way is that Belle has become, more of an activist. She wants to, invent something that frees women from the drudgery of laundry, or she wants to help other women, especially little girls, learn how to read. Um, so she wants to share this with everybody. That, I think, is something that is very, very reflective of what Emma does in her own life. And that's where sometimes, with the perfect piece of casting, you can kind of bring another level of meaning to something, as you watch it.
Luke and Josh have a great theater experience, or
Yes.
have great theater
Right.
experience, and you can feel how much they were enjoying these roles.
Right.
Did you do anything different when directing them to bring out the fun rapport?
It's like tone it down, less. I'm kidding. No, you know what it is. So much of that cliche about 90% of directing is casting. It's somewhat true. These two guys, again, you're right. They were the ones who really like lived and breathed for so many years on stages, and they immediately once they arrive are rehearsing together. All their scenes are together, and they start by rehearsing this huge Gaston number with our entire ensemble. So they were in a very comfortable place that they were completely familiar with. But what I loved is that it turned them into brothers. They just they became kind of inseparable. And because they are. You'd say LeFou is the comic relief, but it's actually the two of them and their relationship and the kind of, Gaston is equally funny, I think, but in a way that's unaware, and they really, really developed that timing out of all that rehearsal time they spent together.
Most of the cast are playing the household staff, which are inanimate objects. How'd you infuse so much personality into these characters and make them empathetic?
Right. Well, that's it's interesting. I approach the movie the way you would any movie, which is like forget about all the magical stuff. Forget that Ewan McGregor's playing a candle. Let's get in a room together and do the scenes. And figure out all the interrelationships between all these characters. So Ewan and Ian, for example, spending a lot of time together. Even though that then turns into voice performances, there's a lot that gets discovered during that, and then especially some of the humor that comes between the two of them happens when you're just in a room like this talking through things. Somebody will say something, and then someone will come back, and especially Ian and Ewan, But I shouldn't say that because Stanley and Audra, it's the same thing. Those two actors should have their own TV show. It was like they are hilarious together. So I think it's that. I think the fact that we approached it as a real movie with real scenes first and put aside how we're going to turn them into something else later, that gave everybody a real connection. The original movie spoke to me as an adult in 1991, and I really was excited with this movie to make sure that it speaks to everybody, and also that everybody is reflected in the movie. It's a very inclusive world. It starts out with an array of women who have come from around the globe, from all these different cultures, to present themselves to the prince, and at the end, it's a celebration of love among people of all different types. I think it's become part of the Disney message, and I think I was very happy to continue that tradition here.